Today I'm going to be showing you all how to best build Gina in solo leveling or rise so you can make your fire team unstoppable. And I'll be doing this by showing you all of her best artifacts, weapons, cores, and also much more. And overall Gina has many different artifact sets that she can use, but by far you're going to want to run her on the 8 set effect of Burning Blessing, as this can provide healing to your whole team as well as also damage buffs, which is going to be absolutely amazing, as before the mono fire team didn't really have anybody that could do this. But if you wanted to run Gina more offensively, then you could go for the Warmonger sets, as the 2 set effect and also the 4 set effect, when you combine them together you can increase your attack stat by up to 28%, which will not only benefit her damage but it will also benefit her healing capabilities as well, as her healing through her body retrograde buff does actually scale off of her attack stat. And then things like the Destroyer set will also be very beneficial due to it being able to help increase your whole team's power gauge, charge rate, but also just to allow Gina to get her ultimate much faster, as Gina's ultimate is a very important part of her kit, as it does create a gravitational field, and that gravitational field is extremely important as it is what will allow you to trigger your body retrograde buff. And then finally the armed set can also be pretty good, as it will increase her attack stat and will also allow her to ignore 15% of your target's defense when attacking, which would be pretty good. For accessory sets, of course, the Burning Blessing ones are going to be needed if you are going to run it on its 8 set effect bonus, but if you're not going to be doing that, then you could run Outstanding Connection for the 28% attack increase that you can give to your main DPS, or you could run Sylph's Blessing to give elemental weakness damage increasing, or again, if you wanted to run her a bit more offensively, then you could run the Expert set to increase her attack by an absolute ton. And then for all of her stats, let's start off with her main artifacts, and on her helmet for the main stat of that, you'll want to go for additional attack or attack percent. The body armor, it doesn't really matter what you go for, as additional defense and defense percent will do just pretty much the same job. The gloves is also the same, as additional attack and attack percent will both be very beneficial. And then finally for her boots, you could go for 3 different options, and that is going to be critical hit damage if you're going to run her more offensively, as well as also defense penetration for the same job, or if you wanted to give her even more healing, then you could go for healing give an increase if you would like to. And then for the accessories, for the necklace, additional HP or HP percent doesn't really matter what you go for. For the bracelet, of course, fire damage percent. The ring will just be like your gloves and helmet, as you'll want additional attack or attack percent. And then finally, of course, the earrings will give you additional mana points. And then finally for her substats, the main ones you're going to want to go for are going to be additional attack, attack percent, and then also defense penetration, as those are the stats that she does benefit from the most, especially if you do have her advancements. But then of course other things like crit stats and also your mana stats are also going to be very beneficial as well, and you can definitely utilize them perfectly. Which then brings me on to a brand new section for these videos, and that is going to be all of Gina's best cores. And for Gina's very first core, you'll want to go for Ancient Wraith's Obsession, as its core passive will allow you to increase your attack stat by up to 5% if you do have it on its legendary rarity, which like I said before, she really does benefit from the attack stat as much as possible. And in your second core slot, you have the Ancient Wraith's Right Hand, as well as also the Nameless Demon's Horn, and both of these are just as viable as each other, as they do give you a decent benefit. However, they're nothing too crazy, so it doesn't really matter which one you go for. And then for the final core slot, you'll want to go for the Nameless Demon's Magisphere, as this will allow you to recover mana points equal to 5% of your maximum mana whenever you use your ultimate skill, which would be really good for her, just so you can make sure you have as much mana as possible, so you can always use your skills. And then for all of your core substats, the same substats that are very beneficial with your artifacts will also apply here as well. And then for all of Gina's best weapons, her own exclusive weapon, which is called the Glamour of Self-Worth, is definitely going to be her best weapon. And this can increase her attack stat by 2 to 12%. And then also when mana circulation activates, all of your team members will recover 50 mana points, and this can be increased all the way up to 250 mana points. And then also when you activate this buff, you can increase all of your team members' attack and also fire damage by 1%, which can normally stack up to 4 times, but once at A5 you can then stack it up to 10 times instead. And then if you don't have that weapon just yet, then you can also go for the Spiky Shark Water Gun, as it will increase your QT and also basic skill damage by 2.5 all the way up to 10%. And for Gina's skill level priority, in my opinion, her best skill to level up is going to be her ultimate skill, which is called Liberation. And this skill's damage can go from 3,190% of her attacker's damage all the way to 4,785% of your attacker's damage. And the reason why it's extremely beneficial that you do level up this skill is because when you use this skill, you'll be able to create a gravitational field, and this will deal damage equal to 20% of the damage that your ultimate has done. So basically, the more damage that you deal with your ultimate initially, the more damage your gravitational field is also going to do, which is going to make it very good. Path of Extinction is her second basic skill, and this is really good, as it has a massive damage multiplier, as it can go from 2,251% of her attacker's damage all all the way to 3,376% of her attack is damage, and this is going to be one of your most important skills that you do use, as the counter current effect stays active while the user uses this skill, and it also allows you to stack this buff up to 4 times. And this counter current buff is extremely important in her kit, as once you stack it 5 times, you can apply mana circulation, which will increase your whole team's attack and also fire damage by 15%, which then leaves her basic skill, gravitational mass, as well as her core attack, forced descent, as your next best things, as she can generate her core attack extremely quickly through her skills, which will make gravitational mass pretty useful, as well as also forced descent as well. And then for her advancements, her A1 and A2 aren't really that appealing to me, as their only main function is to increase the damage of your team members, but it is when you get her to A3 is where her kit completely changes and transforms into something that is just extremely better than what it is currently, as basically her A3 allows her first basic skill, gravitational mass, to create a gravitational field, as well as also apply the gravity boost debuff to them, which will increase their fire damage taken by 10%, which will be absolutely amazing. But the main reason why this is so good is the fact that you can create a gravitational field, which is going to be absolutely amazing, because then it will make it extremely easy to always be able to apply your body retrograde buff, as this buff has a duration of 15 seconds, which funny enough is also the cooldown of your first basic skill, which technically means you can pretty much have a 100% uptime on your body retrograde buff, which means you can have permanent healing as well as also pretty much non-stop power gauge charging. And then for our last 2 advancements, her A4 will increase your fire team members' defense penetration by up to 8%, which is going to be absolutely amazing for characters like Choi and also Soohyun. And then finally her A5, all it does is basically when you create a gravitational field, you can apply a space-time gap buff to yourself, which will basically just increase the damage of her second basic skill, Path of Extinction, by just quite a lot, which then leaves all of Gina's best synergies and also her best team in general. And overall, Gina's best team is going to consist of her, of course, as well as Emma Lawrence, and then with those two you'll either want to use Choi or you could go for Yu Soohyun instead, as Emma's main role in this team is to deal a lot of break damage with her skills, as well as also apply the heat emission buff to your entire team, which will increase their defense penetration as well as also their fire damage. And then for Soohyun, her main role is to deal a lot of damage with her second basic skill, Kill Shot, as well as also her core attack, Perfect Shot. And the reason why Choi benefits from this team so much is mainly just because of all of the attack buffs and also fire damage that Gina will give, as due to Choi's A0 he can increase his attack by 50% as well as also his attack and defense pen by another 20% through his ultimate hunter buff, which then finally leaves me with all of the best shadows that you can run in this team. And overall, one of the best Shadow Authority leaders for this team is going to be Blades, as Blade's Shadow Authority buff will increase all of your team members' attack stat, which will benefit Gina's healing and also damage, as well as also your Choi's and also Soohyun's damage. But you could also go for Big Rock as well, as Big Rock will increase your entire team's basic skill damage, which will benefit your Choi Jong-in an absolute ton, which will leave these two as your best Authority leader options, which then of course leaves Iron and then also Serbi as 2 amazing support options, as Iron's defense decrease effect will work very well with this team, as it's all about ignoring as much of your enemy's defense as possible. And then of course Serbi's combustion debuff is just way too good to not use in every team, which overall in my opinion will leave this team as well as all of these shadows as one of the best ways for you to run Gina. So there you have it, that is a complete build guide to Gina, and overall she is pretty good. I don't think she's anything too crazy or at least meta changing. And overall, if you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to like and subscribe and also click the link down below to support me as a creator. And most importantly, of course, I will see you all in the next video. Peace!